These are your 4-7B notes. We are going to analyze graphs of quadratic functions. We actually did the analyzing yesterday, where we had the equation was put in vertex form. So now today's lesson is in regards to how do we go from standard form, taking a quadratic equation from standard form, which is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and transforming it into vertex form, which is the y equals a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k. So we have to, that's what we're going to do, is we're going to transform from one form to the other. So in order to do this, we have 4 steps. We're just going to go step by step. It's a lot easier to make this in vertex form if the a value is equal to 1. It involves completing the square. So when we complete the square, completing the square is a lot easier when a is equal to 1. So to get a equal to 1, we're going to divide everything by a if we need to. Okay, that step may be skipped if a is already equal to 1. Second thing we're going to do, just like when we completed the square, we're going to move out imperfect c and make room for new c. So this is going to involve a little bit different. You're going to have a y value on the left-hand side. So we're going to subtract c from both sides, or add or subtract, depending on the value, what the sign of c is. Oh, I'm really making a mess here. So we're going to add or subtract c to move it out of the way. Then we're going to complete the square and factor into either x plus h squared or x minus h squared. So after we move out our old c, all we'll be left with is an x squared plus bx, just like we were when we completed the square before. So we'll do the whole, take half of b and square it, and that becomes our new c value. We'll add that to both sides, and then we'll factor. And what that does is that brings in the squared term, the x minus h squared term. And then after we're done with that, we'll kind of make a disaster of the y. For instance, if we divided both sides by a, now y is being divided by a, maybe, as a fraction. We added or subtracted the old ugly c over to the y side. So anytime we have this form, we always want to clean up our y. So we're going to solve for y, and that would be bringing numbers back after we're done with the other process. So 4-step process, kind of have that around when you do the practice problems today to help you understand until you get the hang of it. All right, so let's go ahead and start this. So this is in standard form. Okay, right now my a value is a positive 1, and the very first step is to get a to equal 1, so it's already done for us. The second step is to get rid of the imperfect c. So we are going to move out this -5, and we're going to add 5 to both sides. So again, a little bit different than before, because when we completed the square before, that y value was a number, it was 0. So we just simply write it as y plus 5. Okay, it gets a little messy right now, but we'll deal with it later. And then by doing this, we end up with x squared plus 8x plus something new, and I actually should have left room for plus something new over on the other side. Okay, so now we need to come in with our new c value that makes this a perfect square trinomial. So we got 2 of the terms, we need that third term, and it involves this 8. So remember, my new c value is taking the b value, taking half of it, which gives me 4, squaring it, and I get 16. So I'm going to add 16 to both sides. I should have left some room there. So whatever you do to one side, you do to the other side. So this 5 and 16 with the y is now going to become y plus 21. And then this other side, we can make it a perfect square factor of x plus 4 quantity squared. So there's my x minus h squared. I've got the x minus h squared. The last step is to subtract 21 from both sides. We're going to clean up y, and there's your k value. So the old imperfect c, along with your new perfect c, create your k value. So here's the vertex form. And then once you get the vertex form, we can kind of analyze some things. My vertex then is -4, -21. It's opening up. so it's a minimum, all of that stuff. The axis of symmetry is x equals -4, everything that we did yesterday. We can talk about translations, reflections, all of that good stuff. All right, the next problem here, okay, this is one where the a value is not equal to 1. So the very first step that we have to do is divide everything by -3, both sides of the equation. So I'm just going to write it down all 4 times so I get my signs correct. So that leaves me with y divided by -3. That y value is going to be ugly the rest of the time through. Is equal to positive x squared minus 2x and then plus 1/3. Okay, now that's an ugly c value. So we're going to move out the ugly c value and make room for the new c value. So I'm going to subtract 1/3 from both sides. So y divided by -3, subtract 1/3 plus room for my new c value, my perfect c, is equal to x squared minus 2x plus room for my new c. So I'm going to go over to the corner, do some work with the -2. My new c value is equal to my current b value divided by 2, which is -1. And then when we square it, I get 1. So I need to add 1 to both sides. So on the right-hand side is actually a little bit easier to calculate here. Now we're just going to factor that, x minus 1 quantity squared. It's the left side that's a little ugly. So if you subtract 1/3 from 1 whole, you can use your calculator to do that. You're going to get 2/3, a positive 2/3. Okay, so it's not pretty yet, but just hang on to it. Okay, so it's going to be a little messy. So my y divided by -3 plus 2/3. The very last step is we got to clean up this y value. We got to get that y value all by itself. So the very first thing we take care of is the stuff furthest away from y. So I'm going to subtract 2/3 from both sides, and that's going to go on the outside of this quantity. It's going to be part of my k value. So now I'm left with y divided by -3 is equal to x minus 1 squared minus 2/3. And then I'm going to times both sides by -3 to get rid of the fraction. But when I multiply both sides by -3, I'm going to multiply the -2/3 by -3, but also this quantity, this whole quantity squared, and that's a -3 there. So what happens is the y cleans up. The -3 that I'm multiplying the quantity by just stays outside the quantity. I don't need to distribute that, and that becomes your a value. And then your k value, a -2/3 times a -3 becomes a +2. And so there's your vertex form. My vertex would be 1, 2. My axis of symmetry would be x equals 1. My a value being a -3 tells me it's going to open down, and that it's stretched vertically because of the 3. So we can do all the analyzing that we did the day before once we get the equation. All right, so lesson summary. I need to know what is the first step to solve by completing the square. That is incorrect. Ooh. Here we go. I forgot to change these. So this is a freebie. My bad. That was from before. And then this one we're going to do is I want you to put this in vertex form. We'll just wing it. And I want you to put that particular equation that's in standard form into vertex form. So there we go. Good luck. We'll improvise.